And I can say that with a smile, and I'm okay with that. That's my dream right there. And me and my folks moving is not that level of crisis. I'm not perfect. I had a very disappointing experience. It's kind of like our own have it your way, Burger King version of homeschooling, haha. Alrighty friends, well you know I've been missing a little bit over here. What am I doing? What am I doing with all my time? Well, my entrepreneur mama brain, I have deep dove into launching my big super mega YouTuber extraordinaire project that you all know I've been working on a long time. But don't worry, I always deep dive and get my projects done. Gigi and Merle, how do you get these things done? Well, this is the big thing that I am doing right now with 2 weeks of my life. And we are doing this special Q&A series over here on my main channel. And in the meantime, if you get lonely for some J. Morrell hardworking and chatty chatter, you can head over to my second channel with just my first name, J. Morrell. I got a lot of additional chatty videos over there and encouragement for women who are hurting. So in this video, if you missed my most recent chatty Q&A video to kick off this series, I will link that for you in the description below. It should be the video that's posted right before this one. I started off that video and I just mentioned how I haven't felt like doing Q&A videos in a while. Okay, I just haven't. But I feel like, well, I not just feel like, we had a good time. In that first Q&A video, I answered all kinds of questions over there. We chatted deep and wide, and I gave some commentary, and we just discussed the good, the bad, the ugly, the wonderful, the blessings, all of it. So be sure to watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. And we're gonna get started with our very first question this evening, and I think it's a really fun one. It's something I've never been asked before, and I can't wait to share it with you. Okay, this is very fun. If money was no object, what would your next home have? What is your dream home description? I don't know how to do an if money was no object because I don't think like that. But I do think, what would I like to have in a next home? So I'm already not answering the question right. I'm doing this wrong, right? Okay. So any dream home for me is a home with me and my folks. And I know that we can make it work in any kind of home. We have, of course, had and enjoy and love this mega mama kitchen. And one of my dreams has been, if I end up selling this property, which most likely that is going to be on the 2025 bingo card for me, and I'm okay with that. A dream home for me is having 2 to 5 acres. Having room to run. I have only ever raised children besides of my very first few years of motherhood. I've only, I think from my oldest was 5. So for 20 years, 2 decades, I've only ever raised children on 2 to 13 acres. I don't know how to do it otherwise. That would be a whole new stretch. And that could be on my bingo card, okay? We don't know this whole 2025 bingo card. Some of you have joked with me, it's like a scratch card. You don't know what's under it. I don't know. But any kind of dream home for me right now where I'm sitting is something with 2 to 5 acres of land. A little farmette. I wear a size little 2 to 5 acre farmette, okay? That's my dream right there. We are very blessed with where we are currently on almost 7 acres and the mega mama kitchen and this home that we have developed. But real life, looking at me, is looking like, I'm probably, this house is probably gonna be sold, and me and my folks will be looking for another farmette in the general area. And will I rent before? Because you know there's dance move framework, like selling one property, buying another. I'm not there yet. And like another friend of mine right now, who she's in a medical emergency with a child. And she was just sharing today about how literally she's had to take it 10 minutes at a time. And me and my folks moving is not that level of crisis. So even though when I think about, okay, how will I handle all of those things? And so I know me moving as a mom running a household of 10, I have moved before. I have bought and sold properties before. I have purchased 1, 2, 3. I have been involved in 4 home purchases The last 2 homes were bought 100% with my self-employment income. I can buy a 5th house. It will be okay. The question will be nervous system juggling, all the things wise, if there will be a short term, like 6 month to a 1 year rental. But then let's get into the dream part. This is totally circling back to the dream question. You danced around the barn with me and now you get more of that answer. It has also always been my dream to build a house. And let me tell you, as I sit in this Mega Mama kitchen, I do say, I don't want for much, okay? If I ended up on 2 acres again in a 100-year-old household, me and my folks, we would have a good time. If we go back to not having a dishwasher and not having these big appliances, we'll just be doing videos in a smaller kitchen and we will make it work. But all that to say, my dream would be to buy land and to build my version of probably more like a modern farmhouse-y situation. There's some beautiful modern farmhouses that I've seen in my area when I drive down the road, and they're just nice 2-story farmhouses with either, like a 3/4 wrap porch. We can catch a whole vision for this, right? That's a dream. I think closer to reality is sell, move into another local farmette, make it our own, and have a nice time and keep on trucking. But we'll see. We are 4 months in to 2025 and adventure awaits. So like I was sharing in reference to moving and houses and housing hopes and dreams and all of that, some of the questions I have received or just comments and statements are, oh my goodness, how are you gonna move? How are you gonna do that? You've worked so hard for the house that you're at, and all of these very nice things and also very valid concerns about the whole process. But just like I mentioned, my friend who has a child with a medical emergency, that is a real crisis. Also, what I went through 2023 and other situations since then, those are real crises. Moving, to me, I'm just gonna take it very slow and steady. Right now, where I sit in April 2025, I'm not moving today. And I have a lot of work energy I'm putting out. I have my big YouTuber Extraordinaire course that I've launched that is out there that I have worked so hard for. I'm getting ready to do a bunch of YouTuber Business Mama Extraordinaire live coaching over the next 4 months. For my students, even before this video, because my head is so into YouTube teaching right now with doing the launch and the cheerleading. Before this video, I just sat and filmed 2 more videos for yet another module that I'm building out for the course. One is business setup, not tax advice, but just general online business thoughts on finding professionals and how to generally set things up and who to work for and what to look for in these expert providers that you should work with in setting up your business. And the other video that I filmed for my course was just a conversation I got into today with someone on Facebook when I was promoting my YouTuber Extraordinaire course that's open now through April, I'm seeing my calendar in my head, through April 21st at 11:59 p.m. This Facebook commenter was just saying that she would do YouTube, but she got banned from AdSense years ago on her blog. And I was just sharing with her so many other income streams that people can grow and develop off of their YouTube channels that have nothing to do with AdSense. Now, even one woman that I have personally mentored in her YouTube journey as she was getting going and building her business and all of that, she makes very little on AdSense. But you know what she has done with her YouTube channel? She has built a very successful private paid membership that earns 5 figures a month and has consistently. And she credits my insight and mentorship in helping her get going. And based on phenomenal testimonials from those I've mentored and my students, and also my own experience of building additional income streams in addition to AdSense off my main channel, I filmed a whole commentary video and a whole teaching video for my students on that topic for my YouTuber Extraordinaire course. And again, my course already has 50 practical real life mama teaching videos. And I say mama in my teaching and in my course because I am a mama. I mean, I'm working on my 3rd decade of motherhood. I only know how to operate as an adult woman in this world while also being a mother. I became a mother at 21 years old. I'm going to be 46 this summer. I don't have another brain other than a mom life brain. I'm the mother of 7 sons and 2 daughters. 3 are adults. Like, I've done the thing. I could be done if I stopped at 3, but I got 6 more. And I have 14 more years. I mean, motherhood never ends, but 14 more years of minor children in my home. So by the time my youngest graduates, I will have 4 decades, like my 4 decades of adulthood, 20s through being 60, is operating businesses and homeschooling and running a home, raising a whole lot of humans up in here. So I don't know any different. So in my course, again, my course suite that I'm going to build out, so cast the vision with me, is called Successful Business Mama. I've been dreaming of that and brainstorming it, excuse me while I scratch my shoulder, for several years now. And it made sense to me that my very first course I would create is YouTuber Extraordinaire, which deep dives helping students brainstorm and plan and launch and grow, or if they already have channels, how to fine tune that and go further. Like, some of my students already have YouTube channels, but they've learned different analysis and strategies and insight from me to take their channels and grow them even farther in different ways on different levels, and not even always about the views. They can launch products and books and other services, and again, many different income streams. And as a mama who likes buying new shoes at Walmart for my folks and buying the fruit when we need it, I always focus on the income streams. And so even though this first course is all about YouTube vision and getting going and data analysis and analytics, but doing it, I'm the mentor, I'm the coach. So it's all real life mama style. Again, the mom working on my 3rd decade of motherhood. 14 years of that, let's see, early on, you all know, early motherhood, I was a student, and then I was a nurse, and then I tried to be a normal mama. Go back to the last Q&A video before this. I do the whole timeline, but we'll just visit it for a moment. And then I got into online business and bootstrapping and teaching myself all of those skills. So it made sense that my first course is a deep dive into YouTube, because even though I was successful as a blogger, making a 6-figure annual income, I've been able to take that knowledge and data and experience and online marketing vision and apply it and do exponentially more from building and growing off of YouTube. Different questions that come in are in the vein of, how do I do all these things? How do I run a channel? How do I run a business? How do I homeschool my kids? How do I handle all of these different elements? A few very simple strategies I have in place. And again, please know, I'm not new at this. I am an expert. I'm not perfect, okay? I always like to tell my folks, I am the world's okayest mom, okay? And it's okay. All a kid needs is, I believe I've heard it, it's one compassionate witness and one okayish mom. You know, if you're loved and your mom is pretty okay and you have what you need and you're safe, you're doing really well, actually, in this whole universe. And so, like, even today, my calendar for these 2 weeks looks very different than my calendar normally. Normally, I have totally normal mom days. I have a few segments, like I film dinner on the table. You know, I have a few segments I'll catch during the day. But all day, every day is not a big cooking day. I have received the question of, is all I do is have a big cooking all day, every day? Absolutely, no. In March, I got 1 big cooking day done. And it was a homemade freezer meals from scratch video. That video is doing phenomenal in my analytics. If you're into YouTube data, it's got a fantastic RPM, which is how much you make per 1,000 views. Like, it was a great video, and it made a fantastic amount of food, which now here I am, middle of April. I pulled out those last 4 bags of muffins just last night. So we're gonna have those used up in a few days. Also, some of the other freezer meals that I had done, I think I did those on that freezer cooking day because I just haven't had any other day since then. We did some meatloaves, we did unstuffed pepper casserole. It was that cooking day because I had those peppers from my freezer from 2022, organic peppers from my friend's garden, and we were finding different ways to use them up, okay? So that big cooking day was in March. We're eating other things, but we're still eating from that middle of April. So I would love to get in 2 dedicated big cooking days a week. That keeps us heavily stocked up on homemade food. That is also what YouTube heavily wants from me. That does very well on my channel. But I am also a single mom of a household of 10, and my life does not fit neatly on the to-do list. But I do pretty well, and we do really good actually on a lot of things. And again, okayest. And I am okay with that. I actually think that's a huge win. And so a normal week workflow is, I may have on my schedule that I'm gonna have 2 big cooking days, and then I might have 1 other kind of filming day. And I haven't done too many of these, but I've had them on my schedule, especially some in the fall, and I'll do some more because I know y'all have requested them, but you know, like a day in the life where I'm filming more intentionally for that day. And then I have 2 other big cooking days, or 1 might turn into a shopping day. But my life can't work on a super rigid schedule. My business is full-time, and as I've shared, and I share more in depth in my YouTuber Extraordinaire course, I have learned from back in my blogging days and all the way now, 14 years later, but I've been making an income for over 12 years now, hobby at the 14-year level, but I've learned I have to hire out everything that does not need my face on it. Now, who sat in their chair, in their flannel pajamas from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. yesterday, only getting up twice? Your girl here, your girl here. I did a whole new sales page, largefamilytable.com/YouTube. Please go look at it and tell me you like my work, okay? Because I was in those flannel pajamas all day. And even last night, I had 500 steps. By the time I got it, that's why my neck is hurting today, because I sat too long. My blogging took my neck. So anyway, 500 steps and it's 6:30, and I'm like, girlfriend, you gotta walk. So I went outside. I had over 12,000 steps by the time I went to bed. I walked a couple miles, I hoofed it, but I don't work like that every day. And I think some people have seen how much I have accomplished and how long I've been at this. And they assume that I sit and work. And this is what blogging was. This is why I don't do full-time blogging. But I sit and work, you know, for 8 to 10 hours a day on my laptop. That is not normal for me. I don't do that. And that's part of why I love YouTube. Because instead of hacking out content on my keyboard and breaking my neck, like how I busted my neck in 2015 from those years of blogging, I'm able to look in the camera, connect with my friends in New Zealand and my friends all over, and we're able to connect in this way. And there's actually a lot of freedom in creating video content. From being a woman who created that super successful blog, but I worked 50 to 70 hours a week. How do I do that? I worked 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the mornings. I worked 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoons, nap time and big kid project and such. And then I worked 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night. That's what that dream blog required. It was totally worth it because I could have that new $3,000 chimney liner put in my chimney when I needed it. I bought that used van when our septic backed up out of nowhere when we lived in the forest house, and that was a couple $1,000 emergency. The red light just started flashing on the septic box and it was backing up in the yard, and none of that was great. Yeah, that was a crisis, but I could write a check and the problem was solved, and that was amazing. So I know what it's like to work like that. And all these years later with YouTube, I'm sure I still work 40 hours a week out of 7 days. But I do as much as I can on my phone. I watch through video edits, I write my title, my description, I do my thumbnail a lot of times just using PicMonkey on my phone. I reply to your comments, and I do a lot of that. All of that is work. I do all of that a lot of times while I'm walking outside and my kids are playing and I'm getting my steps in. I go through brand sponsorship contract opportunities. I do negotiations. I do a lot. I mean, we all have computers in our hands. And so I use my notes app. I use some other productivity software, and I just run 90+% of my business on my phone. In addition to, I use my camera. I do use my phone a lot for my filming too. You'll be so very proud. I still am filming some on my 5-year-old iPhone. I know I need to stop. I have a brand new iPhone in the box over here, but it has come during my big course launch time, and so it's just gonna sit there till next week when I got some more brain space back. I use a MacBook Pro, and with my MacBook Pro, I go through one like every 5 to 6 years. Every 5 to 6 years. I think I'm on my second or my third MacBook now, and I was just thinking the other day, probably within the next year, I'm gonna need to get another one. So MacBook Pros, I know they cost more than like a PC type laptop, but those laptops, I would get like a Toshiba or something like that when I first started my blog for $300, $350, and that thing, I'd have it within a year and it would be crashing on me all the time and stuff. So then I did that once or twice. Then I spent $1,200 to $1,500, 2013-ish, on my first MacBook. I got 5 years out of that, so let's do math. I think that lasted me, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 2018, when I sold my blog, I got myself another MacBook. I think that's the one I'm using now. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I've been using my current MacBook for 7 years. And to me, it still feels like my new one. I'm not on it all day, every day. I went through before I relaunched YouTuber Extraordinaire, and I fine-tuned all the module titles. I renamed or adjusted or tweaked the names of my different videos. I added new printables. I just did a new module that's gonna have the $1,200 of bonus coaching that my new students are getting for free right now for a limited time. I updated all of that, and all of that I did on my laptop. But I work very different these days, and I have since those first couple years of blogging before I went all in on YouTube. And again, that's part of why I love YouTube, because as an online businesswoman, it has given me a way to create content that I feel like is more family friendly and gives me even more flexibility. Now, I know that there are people, I know there are very successful online businesswomen who have blogs, who their blogs are multi-six-figure annual earning blogs, and they're still doing well in 2025, and they actually have the photography hired out, they have the content writing hired out, they have the keyword research done, like just like any well-oiled machine. They're not actually on that blog doing all the work every day, but they did the work, they put the systems in place, and they hire all of those elements out. And that is fantastic. And then a lot of times what they do with their newfound free time is then they go and build their YouTube channels. So that is also a totally wonderful and beautiful method as well. So for me in my life, back to what does a week in my life, a normal week in my life look like? I don't film every day. And filming is my biggest income stream. I don't do it every day. I will say out of a 7-day week, I will have the equivalent of 3 full filming days. And on other days, I'm working on other elements of my business, but I have a lot of days where I do the equivalent of 2 to 4 hours of work. And then I have days where I'm doing the equivalent of 6 to 8 hours of work. But all of those days are flexible and around my family schedule. Now let me tell you how I did used to work, okay? This is how I used to work before my life imploded. I think this was a really good idea, and that's what I tell my YouTuber Extraordinaire students. I have all kinds of schedule ideas and lists and ideas and videos and teaching on, look, moms, if you're looking for different schedules to make different workflows work, I have done probably all of them. And different ones have worked well for me in different seasons. I was always trying different schedules. And I have notebooks full of different schedules and different ways I was gonna try to swing it. But one of the ways that I worked, the main way I was trying to work before life imploded, it was not going to work in my single mom life. And it also, I've had to learn this whole new skill about, and this is very counterintuitive to motherhood, okay? This is not anything that we are taught as women or mothers. But what I had to learn, so I was hit by a freight train and I was on the tracks and nobody was getting up, no one was scraping me up, no one was helping me or taking care of me, and so I had to take care of me. I've had to invent a whole new work-life balance. And with that, for the most part, I have to make decisions based on taking care of myself and what's good for me. And like I say, very counterintuitive, but just like my friend that was sharing how she was focusing on the next 10 minutes, very much in my situation, I just had to focus on, I remember thinking, okay, I just got to get through this hour, get through the hour. And eventually over time, way longer than it's going to sound, you know, the hours lead to days. And I remember thinking, God, I made it through my first week. Okay, if I can, and the next week looked like another nightmare. And I thought, well, if I can make it through 1 week, I can make it through another. Now, when my life imploded, I went from heavy, full-time working mama, running the whole household, was pregnant with my 10th baby, lost my 10th baby, but like full-on activated mother and businesswoman. Life imploded, and I went to basically not working at all, working very little. And I had to, end of August 23 through December 23, January 24, I was like, okay, we've got to start slowly crawling back to some kind of workflow here. Like there's got to be a way. And I started to figure out what that would look like for me and for us then. But when everything imploded, it was just the hour, the day, the week, survive. So how I worked in my old life, I used to say, that last schedule I was working was a mix between, once our day was done, late afternoon, early evening, I then worked. So I would work, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. or 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. And I would tell myself, okay, I'm only going to work 4 to 9, but I would get in a big project in here and it would be afternoon until sometimes midnight or 1 a.m. You know that we did cooking videos. I'd cook all night long or I'd be canning until 4 a.m. And so the way I got I lived my life getting up in the morning and how could I pour myself out and serve my household and my children and my family. How can I pour myself out as an offering to them and make every day the very best day for them? And I think in general, that's the commentary I heard on motherhood. That's what I was doing. It's really nice and fantastic. So I did it that way, poured myself into my family all day. Homeschooling, read alouds, field trips, anything my family needed, all day, every day. Yes, people did chores. Yes, we went and did things. Yes, we had activities and such, but that was the day. And then in the afternoon until nighttime, after everyone went to bed, I would be working on my content. And or in conjunction with that, I would do things like work all day Fridays and all day Saturdays. And I would use my nursing method. I'd work 2 16-hour days back to back. So I'd work like 7 a.m.-ish to 11 p.m.-ish on Friday, and I'd sleep. And on Saturday, I'd do some version of that again. And I would try to get 2 big videos or just 1 huge video done in that time that would be very profitable and worth that time. And I would try to feel like I'd have the rest of the week off to pour into my family. And some weeks that worked really well, and some weeks everything didn't go how it should. So I'd be able to make up for it by then having our day working in the evenings. And all systems go, all things operating how they should be. Those sound like very nice plans. Now for me, my health was suffering. You all know I had things going on with my kidney and with my weight and with my metabolic health and with my cortisol. I didn't even know what my cortisol was though at the time. I literally didn't know what cortisol was, okay? I went to nursing school to be an LPN. Hey, we're not RNs, right? Okay. I don't even remember hearing about cortisol, and even if we did, I was in my early 20s and I'm getting into my later 40s now. So I didn't know about cortisol. I didn't know about hormones. I hear OBGYNs, like that Dr. Mary Claire talks about. As an OBGYN, she does not remember being taught properly about women's hormones and many women's health issues. Me as an LPN, we breezed through that chapter really quick, and I certainly didn't retain it. I'd have many years where I would leave for like a Saturday or an evening, and I would go to Panera Bread with my laptop, and I would try to get my laptop work done outside of the house. So there's certainly different ways to swing it. So since becoming a single mom, my number 1 top priority, as my analogy goes, when I got hit by the freight train, I had to make it through that. And then I had to learn how to cope. Hello, walking and running. And I have a whole video on my second channel that you all have asked for, and I'll link it down below too, on my 60-pound weight loss journey, not only how I lost 60 pounds, but then how I've maintained that weight loss for over a year, for those of you who are interested. So I focused on the things I could control. I needed body movement for free endorphins. I could make healthy choices, healthy for me and my bio-individual needs on what I needed to put into my body to fuel it, and to also help support my body in the healing. And then I had that huge inflammation crisis, and I learned different things to do to my body to help support my body through that. And my inflammation, at least my last blood test in January, we need to do all that again. Everything was in normal limits, and I know I've shared that all with you too. But my full-time job became to heal myself and care for myself. That's really September 23. I mean, I want to say till now, but I'll probably for a whole year. And by this time last year, I was working on being able to keep my nervous system fires down enough to where I could try to work some kind of consistent schedule. I mean, I was getting out more content, but now I can get out content and my body is not also on fire. Isn't that nice? It's just very nice. You know, my youngest, he'll say, you know, Mommy, are you nice? And I'll say, yes, I'm nice. And I'll say, Sweetie, are you nice? And he'll say, yes, I'm nice. And then he'll say, do you like baby ducks? And I'll say, oh, I love baby ducks. And I'll say, do you like puppies? So we just go through like this nice little pleasant list of things that are nice, okay? And I just want to say, in that same vein, that it is so nice and pleasant and all my hopes and dreams to be able to work a lot of ways as a public performer. I mean, I'm sharing the journey and my life and thoughts and food adventures and big batch spaghetti sauce with you. I'm doing it in a very public way. And that's why for so long, even looking in the camera, it just made me feel like I was burning more. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I felt all this red hot judgment. I felt all this shame. I felt all this accusations and just really hard things. I felt all these questions. I didn't feel in the emotional space I can answer them. And now I am to the place almost 2 years in where I can just look and say, hey, I don't need to answer that. I am not in the place where it is in my emotional best interest to have those words come out of my mouth to this person. I don't need to do it. Nobody's entitled to it. And my one life and my emotional and physical and mental well-being are my highest priority. They're not going to be anybody else's priority. They have to be my priority. And I can say that with a smile, and I'm okay with that. So how my schedule looks now very much as I have a paper planner and I have an eraser, and just like now for the month of April, I need to sit down. Usually I visit it daily, weekly, and monthly. Since I've been in my big promo push, that thing has just been sitting there, and I've just been doing the next thing to launch this thing to the world. Getting all my teaching lined up and ready and doing that for the masterclass, and then setting the free masterclass training up so that everyone can watch the replay but still submit the questions, and I'm still responding to questions, and the free masterclass training is still available. And I've gotten so much great feedback from that. Of course, a lot of questions, but a lot of people who are saying they've gone through it and my goodness, they're inspired. And just from the free masterclass training, they're starting YouTube channels, or they're getting back to YouTube, or they're brainstorming, or they're just jumping on in and buying my YouTuber Extraordinaire course. Now my YouTuber Extraordinaire course with those 50 practical real life videos, a whole power-packed printable library with monetization blueprints, brainstorming pages, so many power-packed printables, and then 4 months of once a month live coaching with me, your YouTube mama mentor. All of those things together is a value of $1844. It's a lot, but there's a lot in there. The course alone is valued at $497. I have worked hard on it. I have poured so much of my wisdom and my experience and my insight into the course. And even now, like I mentioned, before I started filming this video, I mean, there's 50 videos in there. There's technically 51 now. I just sat here tonight and filmed 2 more, and I'm building out, it'll be added in a couple months, a whole other module with 10 more videos. So then we'll be over 60 videos. And the nice thing is, all of my students ever, so the students who were my beta students in fall 2023, and my students who are joining now, spring 2025, anything I ever do to that course, if I add any new videos, any new printables, any new insider teaching, if I offer any bonus live calls, any of those things are included for that one-time price. And at this point, I do plan to continue to add to the course and build it out farther. I'm sure there will get to a point in the future where I feel like, okay, it is finished, and then I'll just do updates as needed, but I'm definitely not there yet. And of course, the value goes up through all of that building out. So right now through April 21st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, you can join YouTuber Extraordinaire for only $247. That's the whole 50 video course with the printables and the 4 months of live coaching with me. So head to largefamilytable.com/YouTube and check out my page with all that information that took me all day yesterday. And thank you so much for cheerleading me on and all my hard work. You're right. I cannot launch my YouTuber course and get ready to do live training while also simultaneously doing huge Mega Mama Big Batch freezer cooking days. And I can't go shop at Costco, and I can't go to the thrift store, and I can't do much of anything else. And so that is part of how I work. I have to drill down and focus on the project that I'm currently working on. And so also another question I get is, as a single mom of many, I'm still able to homeschool my household. And I will say, I had a very disappointing experience, because when my life imploded, so October 2023, and I did not know how I was gonna be able to homeschool in any way, shape, or form. So I did the next thing I figured I could do. And I went to a very local, highly rated private Christian school. And I went through the steps, took a couple weeks to get my whole crew enrolled. And then they just decided they weren't gonna take us. And their reasoning for that was it just ended up being too many kids. The year had already started. And of course, all of that is fair, all right? All of that is fair. It was 57 children, as I like to say, haha. It was gonna add to their teaching staff, their resources. I would have been paying. I mean, this wasn't free. The thing that was discouraging and sad to me is I was a woman in a nightmare, and I went to these people for help, and I had money to pay for the help, and I put the work in to get the help. And then at the end, they decided they were not going to help me. That was very disappointing. Very disappointing. Because I feel like that's what the Christian church should be doing. If you have a woman in a hard situation that comes with a need, and this is a private Christian school that has a church attached to it, just like most private Christian schools do. So I had a need, and I came to them, and I was throwing myself before the throne to get help with this need, and they would not help me. Wow. So at that time, I had already had a private tutor. I had a private tutor who'd been coming a couple years, really. I was still doing a big bulk of the homeschooling, but things like high school level, algebra 2 and geometry and such. Once I got into having more and more teens and also upper elementary kids that were moving into those higher levels and business and babies and books, and I want to do field trips and read alouds. Those are my mama heart things. So probably, I'm thinking years here, probably 2022, 21 or 22, I started having a local tutor come in probably 4 to 6 hours a week just to supplement and give extra support where we needed it. And so when that private Christian school would not help me when I was on fire, I talked to our tutor, and our tutor was then able to come. I think I had them coming 25 to 30 hours a week. Now again, I have 57 folks, haha, that's what I like to say. But they came 4 to 6 hours most days, and that's what got us through the fall. And that tutor is excellent, patient, kind, gentle, just a solid human, very good. And so my folks rotated through working with the tutor. That tutor is also a longtime experienced homeschool parent, teacher, all these things. And so they were able to take my folks in age appropriate groups. It was one-on-one when and where that was needed. And then it was groups for subjects that can be combined and add that kind of support. That's how we got through fall and winter 2023 and into 2024. And as time progressed and as my nervous system continued to heal, which, as I always say, I'm saving my children's mother, that had to be a top priority too. And the tutor that I bumped their hours way up worked with the curriculum that I had. They also brought curriculum. I also got any other resources that they needed. And now that was a blessing. Not everyone is able to do it, but it's also okay that I was able to do that. And I lived off savings. I had some important savings built up, And when life imploded, guess where that savings went? We had to live off of it for months and months and months until I could slowly get back to working again. And my income streams are solid. My business was still making money during that time, but I lost several big brand sponsorships during that time. I had a big opportunity cost loss. Honestly, within that whole time, I lost several $100,000 coming through my business. And that's just the reality of how much the business that I have made, I have to show up and do the work. And if I'm not available to show up and do the work that makes the money, the income, is the work that has my face on it. You know, I'm actually the one doing it. And if I'm not able to do that, then there is not the income streams that there needs to be. And then continuing on, as my nervous system healed more, and again, we got through hours and days and weeks and months. And then I also added another spine to make it still possible to continue to homeschool based on the wishes of all my folks. And I honor that, is I added in an online program that also gave us a spine. Lots of people want to know what online program I use. Just Google online homeschooling. There are many online programs. I don't want to say the exact online program that I use because I don't think that's important. But there are many programs out there that record attendance, record your grades, give report cards. They can be video based. It can be all done online. There's programs out there that send you DVDs and consumable workbooks. So there are a ton of options. This is not homeschooling in 2005. This is homeschooling in 2025. There's also academies out there where you can pick different classes and different specialties. So 2025, single mom of many, homeschooling J. Morrell. I still have a tutor that comes in every week, and we have an online program as our base, and we have our outside activities and resources and adventures and travel and opportunity. Like, because we still live this homeschooling life, we just live it. I call it hybrid homeschooling, but we make it work for us. I mean, really, all homeschooling is hybrid homeschooling. You get the curriculum that works for your family, you design your schedule, and you make it work for your household. So that's what we're doing, even though life looks different. It's kind of like our own have it your way, Burger King version of homeschooling, haha. And so we're able to go to the water park in February. We're able to go camping at the beach, even though traditional schools are still in. The tutor now comes 1 to 3 times a week, depending on what we need. We're in some really good systems and routines right now. Folks get up, they have the things they do. Everyone ends up in the kitchen, on their laptops, doing their online school. Even this morning, I was helping my 10-year-old with some language arts questions and helping him with a science quiz. My 7-year-old, it's April, and he already finished, I think his science for his whole grade is done for the whole year. And so within all that, you know, folks are able to leave with other adults at different times to go do horseback riding lessons or work with the horses or go hiking with different friends. And we have different clubs and activities that we're involved in. And we have many homeschool groups that I've been involved in my whole homeschooling journey. And again, I'm working on being 3-decade mama, so I know some stuff. I know where the good walking paths are. I know where the best lakes are. I know, you know, I get my pool pass, I work my library card, we do all those things. And some other things that have changed where I have always been a heavy read aloud mom until about 2 years ago. My whole homeschooling journey, 18 years of homeschooling, I did read alouds for 2 to 4 hours every day. I started when my oldest was 5, and again, all the way up until almost 2 years ago. I kind of took a break from a lot of things to recover, but then as I slowly was able to cope and add more, we got heavy into audiobooks. And so we've listened to so many audiobooks. We listen to them a lot at bedtime. So part of me is sad, but things are different and they change. There is a part of me that could be sad or has been sad at different times, that I'm no longer the read aloud mom. I am not reading to my household 2 to 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, which was a lot of who I was as a homeschooling mom. And I've just given myself the freedom. You know what? Yeah, I'm not the read aloud mom. I'm not. My youngest might never know me as being the read aloud mom that's going to read for 2 to 4 hours a day. And we had many days at the farmhouse. I would start Old Yeller in the morning, and we would literally read it throughout the whole day and finish in the early evening. I love that. But you know what? Even though life does not look like that now, I still did that. I still gave my humans those memories and those moments, and I was still the mom that did those things. And now I'm still an okay mom. And so I look for what do I have to work with and what can I actually do. I have an Audible subscription. I have slowly collected many of our favorite books on Audible. We have gone through it. We just finished going through the whole My Side of the Mountain series. Before we did that, we did Little House on the Prairie. And in fact, I'm gonna open up on Audible now and I'm gonna just tell you what is in my Always Be a Homeschool Mom library. Okay, so we're listening through the Little House on the Prairie series now. I've gotten the whole Roald Dahl collection. Now, we haven't actually listened to his books on Audible, but I invested in the whole collection because I've read My Humans, those books, many times, the whole series. We just finished Frightful's Mountain. We've gone through different Gary Paulson books. So he wrote Hatchet, which I have a weird fascination with the Hatchet book because I remember my 7th grade teacher reading it to me. It was the first chapter book for some reason I picked to read aloud to my oldest son, and I've read it to all my kids probably a dozen times. But there's another book called Harris and Me, The Far Side of the Mountain, let's see, The River by Gary Paulson, My Side of the Mountain, Brian's Winter, the whole Chronicles of Narnia series, Farmer Boy. I have quite a bit, James Harriet's Treasury for Children, favorite dog stories, cat stories, All Creatures Great and Small, These Happy Golden Years, but the whole Little House on the Prairie series. So we've got Little Town on the Prairie, we've got The Long Winter. Those are totally out of order. On the Shores of Silver Lake, On the Banks of Plum Creek, out of order, but I'm just reading what's here. Where the Red Fern Grows, The Sign of the Beaver, Old Yeller, Hatchet, Because of Winn-Dixie, Number the Stars. I'm scrolling here. I'm seeing some books that are mine, like Bonhoeffer. Okay, and then all the Anna Green Gables books. So that is what I have been listening to with my younger crew in particular over the past almost 2 years, because I have not been doing read-alouds. Those are the read-alouds we've been listening to. We've probably listened to Because of Winn-Dixie 4 times. So sometimes we'll listen to Where the Red Fern Grows, it's the dog adventures. Listen to Because of Winn-Dixie, listen to Farmer Boy, and hop around like that. So again, life does not look anything like I thought it would at 45, almost 46. Homeschooling doesn't look like what I thought homeschooling would look like. I'm also fine if we don't always homeschool, if we decide to do something different. But again, the last time I tried was pretty disappointing. Homeschooling is what my gang has still wanted to do. And so I have honored that by looking for resources and bringing in other help and opportunities to make that possible. And my help in April 2025 is an online program, online audiobooks, and our tutor that still comes in 1 to 3 days a week, depending on the week. Some weeks they don't come at all. Other weeks it's 3 days. I think next week it's not going to be at all. It was 1 day this week. It'll be 1 day the week after. It just, again, depends on what we need at the time, their schedule, our schedule, those details, but we have them available. And that is a huge blessing. And honestly, how I work that is I buy the time in advance. So I buy like a package of hours from our tutor. I usually get about 60 hours at a time. But that way I know we have the hours we need. That way my tutor knows, in their professional business, that they are paid for their services, and then we just use those hours as needed. So again, those of you who've been wanting to start your own YouTube channels and learn how to dream up and start and grow your own online business from scratch, click the first link in the description below. Join my YouTuber Extraordinaire course, where you get the 50 practical videos with me, a whole power-packed printable library, and for a limited time, April 2025 through July 2025, you're going to get 4 months of live coaching with me. You'll get 1 live coaching call every month where you can submit your questions and I'll answer them directly. And that's available right now for a limited time, an $18.44 value for only $247, now through April 21st at 11:59 p.m. And for all of you who have encouraged me, you saw me get hit by that train. You did not know if I was getting up, and you have just walked with me. We don't have to say all the words, right? We just you've been walking with me, and we are just walking. And I'm just saying, April 2025 is better than April 2024. And I'm looking forward to April 2026 being better than April 2025. I have hope. I have hope, and that's a big deal. And I have some spark, and I have some encouragement, and it's just kind of there with me a good bit of the time now. And there's times, I get my little hand puppet, I get some darkness staring up at me. I just face it, okay? We're strong women. And I'm not doing nothing different than tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of women before me have not been strong and walked through and done hard things. So I love and appreciate all of you. Please leave me more questions because I would like to do at least one more Q&A video in this series. Let me know some more questions. I will record another video in this series. So kind of what I'm thinking, you got this video, and then I'll probably have another Q&A video in this series, and then my course doors will close. And the nice thing about that is it won't be available on that public sales page anymore, but I'll be able to deep dive and go in with my students while they do the course material and we do the live coaching, and I will then be able to get my project mama brain back on. Say it with me 50 times. I think if we say something 50 times, we get it done. Okay? We're gonna make homemade pizzas from scratch. Don't laugh, we are. And then I bought so many like specialty items to do a mega mama ton amount of gluten-free and sugar-free desserts, and also a lot of dairy-free options. Again, with that Trim Healthy Mama, it's called Trim Healthy Indulgence. With that cookbook, of course, they've got all kinds of recipes, but that one in particular, one of my gluten-free folks has several dessert recipes that they love to make out of that. And I have some gluten-free, sugar-free, and some dairy-free desserts over on largefeelingtable.com. Like, I have this vision, but I can't do that and this at the same time, okay? So, thank you for joining me. These are our nighttime hand signal. We're done, okay? Thank you for joining me. Leave me more questions and comments down below, and I'll see you real soon. Okay, bye-bye.